I owe you too much. I owe you 6 years of unallayed happiness. But they are past. I will not live in the mark of suspicion, the object of jealousy. I love you too well. In an eternal separation, only can either of us hope for dignity and propriety of action. We shall not then be degraded from our true characters. Faith and devotion have hitherto been the essence of our intercourse. These lost, let us not cling to the seedless husk of life, the unkernelled shell. You have your child, your brother, Idris, Adrian. And you, cried Perdita, the writer of that letter. Uncontrollable indignation flashed from the eyes of Raymond. He knew that this accusation at least was false. Entertain this belief, he cried. Hug it to your heart, make it a pillow to your head, an opiate for your eyes. I am content. But by the God that made me, hell is not more false than the word you have spoken. Perdita was struck by the impassioned seriousness of his asseverations. She replied with earnestness, I do not refuse to believe you, Raymond. On the contrary, I promise to put implicit faith in your simple word. Only assure me that your love and faith towards me have never been violated, and suspicion and doubt and jealousy will at once be dispersed. We shall continue as we have ever done, one heart, one hope, one life. I have already assured you of my fidelity, said Raymond with disdainful coldness. Triple assertions will avail nothing where one is despised. I will say no more, for I can add nothing to what I have already said, to what you before contemptuously set aside. This contention is unworthy of both of us, and I confess that I am weary of replying to charges at once unfounded and unkind. Perdita tried to read his countenance, which he angrily averted. There was so much of truth and nature in his resentment, that her doubts were dispelled. Her countenance, which for years had not expressed a feeling unallied to affection, became again radiant and satisfied. She found it, however, no easy task to soften and reconcile Raymond. At first he refused to stay to hear her, but she would not be put off. Secure of his unaltered love, she was willing to undertake any labour, use any entreaty, to dispel his anger. She obtained a hearing. He sat in haughty silence, but he listened. She first assured him of her boundless confidence. Of this he must be conscious, since but for that she would not seek to detain him. She enumerated their years of happiness. She brought before him past scenes of intimacy and happiness. She pictured their future life. She mentioned their child. Tears, unbidden now, filled her eyes. She tried to disperse them, but they refused to be checked. Her utterance was choked. She had not wept before. Raymond could not resist these signs of distress. He felt perhaps somewhat ashamed of the part he acted of the injured man, he who was in truth the injurer. And then he devoutly loved Perdita. The bend of her head, her glossy ringlets, the turn of her form, were to him subjects of deep tenderness and admiration. As she spoke, her melodious tones entered his soul. He soon softened towards her, comforting and caressing her, and endeavouring to cheat himself into the belief that he had never wronged her. Raymond staggered forth from this scene, as a man might do who had been just put to the torture, and looked forward to when it would be again inflicted. He had sinned against his own honour by affirming, swearing to, a direct falsehood. True, this he had palmed on a woman, and it might therefore be deemed less base by others, not by him. For whom had he deceived? His own trusting, devoted, affectionate Perdita, whose generous belief galled him doubly, when he remembered the parade of innocence with which it had been exacted. The mind of Raymond was not so rough cast, nor had been so rudely handled in the circumstance of life, as to make him proof to these considerations. On the contrary, he was all nerve. His spirit was as a pure fire, which fades and shrinks from heavy contagion of foul atmosphere. But now the contagion had become incorporated with its essence, and the change was the more painful. Truth and falsehood, love and hate, lost their eternal boundaries. Heaven had rushed in to mingle with hell, while his sensitive mind, turned to a field for such battle, was stung to madness. He heartily despised himself. He was angry with Perdita, and the idea of Evadne was attended by all that was hideous and cruel. His passions, always his masters, acquired fresh strength from the long sleep in which love had cradled them. The clinging weight of destiny bent him down. He was goaded, tortured, fiercely impatient of that worst of miseries, the sense of remorse. This troubled state yielded by degrees to sullen animosity and depression of spirits. His dependents, even his equals, if in his present post he had any, were startled to find anger, derision, and bitterness in one before distinguished for suavity and benevolence of manner. He transacted public business with distaste, and hastened from it to the solitude which was at once his bane and relief. He mounted a fiery horse, that which had borne him forward to victory in Greece. He fatigued himself with deadening exercise, losing the pangs of a troubled mind in animal sensation. He slowly recovered himself, yet at last, as one might from the effects of poison, he lifted his head from above the vapours of fever and passion into the still atmosphere of calm reflection. He meditated on what was best to be done. He was first struck by the space of time that had elapsed since madness, rather than any reasonable impulse, had regulated his actions. A month had gone by, and during that time he had not seen Evadne. Her power, which was linked to a few of the enduring emotions of his heart, had greatly decayed. He was no longer her slave, no longer her lover. He would never see her more, and by the completeness of his return deserved the confidence of Perdita. Yet as he thus determined, fancy conjured up the miserable abode of the Greek girl, an abode which from noble and lofty principle she had refused to exchange for one of greater luxury. He thought of the splendour of her situation and appearance when he first knew her. He thought of her life at Constantinople, attended by every circumstance of oriental magnificence, of her present penury, her daily task of industry, her lorn state, her faded, famine-struck cheek. Compassion swelled his breast. He would see her once again. He would devise some plan for restoring her to society and the enjoyment of her rank. Their separation would then follow as a matter of course. Again he thought how during this long month he had avoided Perdita, flying from her as from the stings of his own conscience. But he was awake now. All this should be remedied, and future devotion erase the memory of this only blot on the serenity of their life. He became cheerful as he thought of this, and soberly and resolutely marked out the line of conduct he would adopt. He remembered that he had promised Perdita to be present this very evening, the 19th of October, anniversary of his election as Protector, at a festival given in his honour. Good augury should this festival be of the happiness of future years. First he would look in on Evadne. He would not stay, but he owed her some account, some compensation for his long and unannounced absence, and then to Perdita, to the forgotten world, to the duties of society, the splendour of rank, the enjoyment of power. After the scene sketched in the preceding pages, Perdita had contemplated an entire change in the manners and conduct of Raymond. She expected freedom of communication, and a return to those habits of affectionate intercourse which had formed the delight of her life. But Raymond did not join her in any of her avocations. He transacted the business of the day apart from her. He went out, she knew not whither. The pain inflicted by this disappointment was tormenting and keen. She looked on it as a deceitful dream, and tried to throw off the consciousness of it. But like the shirt of Nessus, it clung to her very flesh, and ate with sharp agony into her vital principle. She possessed that, though such an assertion may appear